Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavanesware Vishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaura Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada says that Radharani is especially merciful. Therefore, the devotees in Vrindavan, they always chant Jai Radhe, and we say Radha Giridhari, Radha Govinda. We approach Srimati Radharani first. Ultimately, to approach her, we have to go through disciplic succession and all of that. But Prabhupada gave a nice, of course, Prabhupada gave a nice example. He said that Radharani has felt, now all of this is quite elevated stuff. And what is it, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would only discuss these things in the Gambhira with 3.5 devotees. So this is very far beyond my pay grade, but I can speak according to the Shastra and according to Srila Prabhupada. So Prabhupada said that Krishna can be a little sharp in his dealings. No doubt he's the merciful, all good absolute. Prabhupada calls it the, how does he say it? It's a great line. The curative, why devotees suffer? Prabhupada calls it the curative, therapeutic hand of the all-benevolent Lord. I mean, just think about that sentence for a minute. Curative, we are in this material world, we're diseased. Therapeutic, it's the cure. It's the means, the therapy. The curative, therapeutic, but it's bitter medicine of the all-good Supreme Lord. So it's for my good. Okay, and Krishna, the sannyasis even pray, let the sufferings of this world come. Why? Are we masochistic? The next line is, because those sufferings breed detachment. Oh, so we just want to become like the Sankacharyas or the Buddhists? And what is the advantage of that detachment? That detachment carries me across the ocean of birth and death to your lotus feet. So, okay, we understand the principle, but it can be sometimes a tough slog, Krishna's. So Radharani, Prabhupada describes, quoting Jiva Goswami, that Radharani's also felt that. The highest state of meditation, the highest ecstasy is what? According to the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, Chaitanya Charitamrita, starts with a V, Vipralambra, which is ecstasy and separation. But it's a very interesting mix. So Radharani has felt Krishna leaving, going to Mathura, going to Dwarka. He's felt there's a, when Krishna book first came out, Prabhupada would read to us in the evening. He would read Krishna book. This is in Los Angeles, 1970. And he would add purports. He would add, details. So there's that section where Radharani's not feeling special because Krishna's dancing with all the gopis, so she leaves. And Krishna, of course, follows her. But then, and she says, oh, this forest path is very sharp, thorns, twigs. Let me just ride on your shoulders. So Krishna is completely submissive. He puts her on his shoulders. Madan Mohan, Mohini. So being conquered by Madan Mohan Mohini, he puts her on his shoulders. But he's still Krishna, and he's they have their way of moving. So as Prabhupada added this purport, which is not in Krishna book, Prabhupada said that as she was riding on Krishna's shoulders, she's completely surrendered to Krishna. Krishna said, oh, Radharani, there's a nice branch. You could swing from that branch. So she holds on to the branch, and he leaves her. And when the gopis found Radharani, she was actually hanging from that branch and could not get down, and they had to help her get down. So in different ways, Radharani has felt Krishna's transcendental trickery and his leaving her. So Prabhupada says, quoting Jiva Goswami, because Radharani has tasted that harsh, beneficial, good, all beneficial side of Krishna, but a little hard, because she's tasted that herself, she's merciful to devotees. She's especially merciful to the devotees who are trying to engage in devotional service, trying to advance, and Krishna's purifying our heart, and you know, so it's not easy always. And she understands that. She's, you know, there it is. So therefore, that's one of the reasons devotees particularly appeal to Srimati Radharani. I don't want to talk about me. Well, I can't avoid it. I was going to the Los Angeles temple with the devotees. And Vishnujan Swami was there. When I finally moved into the temple and shaved up, then we went to the LA temple. Prabhupada was giving classes in the evening. And Vishnujan Swami, who was unlimitedly kind, saw me. And he was so happy to, you know, here's another devotee. And he told me that Prabhupada told him that when a devotee shaves up, surrenders, shaves up, I'm yours. Prabhupada said that Radharani goes to Krishna and says, just see this devotee. He's surrendered to you. He or she. They've surrendered. They've given their life. Please give them some special mercy. And Prabhupada told Vishnujan, or Vishnujan Swami told me, that when Krishna is appealed to by Srimati Radharani, just give this person some special mercy. Prabhupada said, how can Krishna refuse? So we should, this day is a day to appeal to Srimati Radharani, every day, every moment, but it is the mood of the Vaishnavas, and especially our lineage. I don't want to go too, anyway. Our lineage is our Gaudiya Vaishnav Sampradaya. It's particularly surrendered to Srimati Radharani. So there it is. So we'll just go through this. So Srimati Radharani appears 8 days after the new moon under the auspicious star Rohini. She's 1 year and 7 months younger than Krishna. As Lord Krishna expands, Srimati Radharani expands. Here we have Krishna expanding into all the cowherd boys. In case I forget, from Venu Gita, it's either Jiva Goswami or Rupa Goswami. Actually, Krishna married all the gopis. There was no inchastity, no immorality. And here's how. When Brahma stole all the cowherd boys, Krishna expanded to all the cowherd boys, right? They were all Krishna. Krishna said that to the Upananda, Nanda, all the different, that we should all get married now. The gopis should all get married. This is the right time. So all the gopis got married to different cowherd boys, but those cowherd boys were all expansions of Krishna. So actually all the gopis married Krishna. So as Krishna expands, here's that scene when he's expanding into cowherd boys. So Radharani expands into unlimited gopis. She expands as Rukmini in Dwarka, as the ideal household life. Krishna comes as the perfect husband. So is it Parakiya and Swakiya? You've got the two rasas, once married in Vrindavan, and you've got Dwarka. Radharani expands into unlimited goddesses of fortune. We have the example from one candle from Brahma Samhita. So many candles can. So as Krishna expands, Srimati Radharani expands. She expands as Sita Dev, Lord Ram's Sita Dev. She expands as Durga, Krishna's material agent for controlling the material nature. So Radharani has two main potencies. This is from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. She gives unlimited pleasure to Krishna. She's the best at pleasing Krishna. And later on, either tonight or, we'll read the 25 qualities of... Krishna has how many transcendental qualities? 64. And how many does Radharani have? I just said, other than Dravida, how many? 25. It's okay, though. But you could add this as one of those. Although Krishna has 64 and Radharani has 25, what is an interesting statement about this? With her 25 qualities, she always conquers and controls Krishna. So she gives unlimited pleasure to Krishna, and as we were saying earlier, she maintains the devotees and the realm of bhakti. She is the queen of the house of bhakti. The name Radha is derived from the word... I'm trying to work it out my glasses. You can say Dravida Prabhu. Which means, by her, the Lord is worshipped. Her name Radha, or her name is Radha, or the topmost worshipper. She's the best at worshiping Krishna. Well, we'll get there in a second. Because a little understanding, before we get into Leela. Radha and Krishna are one. This is Prabhupada saying in the beginning of the Adi Leela. Radha and Krishna are one. And when Krishna desires to enjoy pleasure, he manifests himself as Radharani. Hare, where do we hear this Hare? Have we ever heard this before? Where does it appear in our life? Oh, you ISKCON devotees, you're not in the mood of Radharani. You're not in, Vrindavan Bhav. You're not chanting. You should be chanting Radhe Krishna, Radhe Krishna. What? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. That's Srimati Radharani. That is the evocative name of Mother Hara, which is Srimati Radharani, the pleasure potency of Krishna. How many times do we say Krishna in the Hare Krishna mantra? 4 times. How many times do you say Rama? 4 times. How many times do we say Hare? 8 times, my friends. So it is just... An owl goes in and shuts the door and curses the sun. But we understand that devotees are completely absorbed and under the shelter of Srimati Radharani, both in japa and in sankirtan. We'll get there. Hare, the word hara, is a form of addressing the energy of the Lord. Both Krishna and Rama are forms of addressing directly the Lord, and they mean the highest pleasure eternally. Highest pleasure, and not just flashing, ever increasing eternally. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan movement is what? How is it described? What kind of ocean? Ever increasing, ever expanding. Hara is the supreme pleasure potency of the Lord. This potency, when addressed as Hare, helps us in reaching the Supreme Lord. This is proper from a Ratha Yatra lecture. That actually, she opens the door and allows us to approach Krishna. That gives you a taste of how seriously we should take chanting japa. This is Prabhupada in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Well, you can see there. Simply addressing the energy of the Supreme Lord as Hare, and the Supreme Lord himself as Krishna, very soon situates the Lord within the heart of the devotee. Thus it is the supreme yoga, perfection of yoga. So here we go. Barsana, that is where Srimati Radharani appeared, the home of Maharaj Brishabhanu. So this is, you can see, it's on a beautiful hill, so you get an idea. This is the temple at Barsana. Now, Srimati Radharani, just like Krishna has so many ways that he appears, she also appears in different ways, different times, different yugas, different places. So she has different ways of appearing. King Vrishabhanu was childless. He performed austerities. Mother Katyayani appeared before him and said, these austerities aren't going to work. You just go take Harinam Diksha from a saintly Vaishnava. So he went to Kratu Muni. Kratu Muni initiated the king. Katyayani appeared to the king, gave him an egg-shaped golden box. You get a golden box, what do? Open it up. And inside was beautiful baby Srimati Radharani. So that's one of the ways Krishna appeared. Radharani appeared. Another time, he was advised, he was childless. You perform a big jaga, And like Janak got Sita Devi this way. You perform a big jugga, and before you perform the jugga, you have to clear, and you have to get a golden plow and all astrological, and you plow the field. So when he was getting ready, Vishwabhanu Maharaj, to plow the field, to perform a jugga to get a child, as he was plowing, he hit something dug it up, and there was a golden box. While plowing the field, he found a golden box shaped like an egg, and inside was Srimati Radharani. So that's another way she appeared. While King Vishwabhanu was bathing, it doesn't say where. I don't know where. Jamuna, I don't know, some Kund, we don't know. If anyone finds out, let me know. But he was bathing, a 1,000-petal lotus floated up and bumped him. And he looked inside the lotus, and there was Srimati Radharani. And here's one more way that she appeared. We should be in awe. It should blow our mind. They have an idea that God appears, and he's old, he's got a beard, and how exactly he appeared they don't know anything. And when we describe the different incarnations, or that God is blue and he plays a flute, well, that's inconceivable. Should God be something that with our own anthropomorphic mindset we can, I had a father, my father had a father, my grandfather was gray, so it must be an old man with a beard. Anybody can figure that out. But that Krishna appears in so many mystical forms. Brahma says, hey, other people may say they understand Krishna. As far as I'm concerned, let them speak like that. So similarly, how Radharani appears, just so we don't take it lightly. So here's the last one. The Binda mountain was envious of the Himalayas because Lord Shiva had married Parvati, the daughter of the Himalayas. So you can imagine, Pinda mountain, well, here, competition of the great of immovable things on the Himalayas. And Lord Shiva married the daughter of the Himalayas, Parvati. So he was feeling a little, so he performed great austerities. This is a very rare picture. This is Lord Shiva offering obeisances to Radha and Krishna. So Pinda Mountain asked Brahma, after all these austerities, Lord Brahma appeared, what do you want? I want a son-in-law greater than Lord Shiva. So sometimes Brahma gives these benedictions like to Hiranyakasipu, and he says, oh, geez, wait a minute, how am I going to do that? What's that? What's the ramification of that? So what does Lord Brahma think? He's given a benediction, someone greater than Lord Shiva. What does he have to do? Who's going to be the son-in-law who's greater than Lord Shiva? Has to be Krishna. So if Krishna's the husband, who has to become the wife? Radharani. So Brahma thought, only Krishna is more powerful than Shiva. Thus I need Radharani to appear. He prayed, and Radharani kindly appeared as the daughter of the Pinda mountain. That actually is Pinda mountain right there. It's in Bhutan. So simultaneously, like, on a good theater, you've got different scenes and different storylines. So simultaneously, you've got Kamsa, who's, been told by Narada, the 8th child. He figures, well, kill them all. So he's killing all the boys, and he sent Putin out to gather all the girls together because he was going to kill all the girls. So he sent Putin to gather all the girls. So Putin stole Radharani from Pinda Mountain. But just like, who was it? It was flying with Govardhan Hill but had to pass water. So, these things happen. So when you go over Vrindavan, it's a special place. So she's flying through the sky with baby Radharani, but all of a sudden, baby Radharani became so heavy, she dropped her. So when she dropped her right in Vrindavan, Purnamasi, who arranges, she's Yoga Maya, arranging all of Krishna's sublime pastimes, she found the baby and gave him to Vrishabhanu. So that's another way that Srimati Radharani appears. No, they're all independent pastimes. Each one, 4 different ways, and there's probably so many more. We're going to take questions later on, if you don't mind, because there's a mood. When Radharani appeared, they thought she was blind. as she would not open her eyes. She also wouldn't speak. They thought she was deaf and dumb. She wouldn't open and she wouldn't speak. So they brought Krishna to her bedside. Immediately she opened her eyes and immediately she spoke. She began to, call. So she would not see anything but Krishna first. So, how to attract her mercy? Such a powerful, most powerful, the key to opening the house of bhakti, who personally will appeal to Krishna for us. What do? Do we move to Braj, become a Babaji? Do we find her in Radhakund? Do we call Radhe, Radhe, searching through the, What is our mood? What is the appropriate mood? Prabhupada says in the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, and confirmed in Chaitanya Charitamrita, the secret is to understand her mood. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to say, you cannot go to Vrindavan on the Taj Express. There's a train that goes, right to Mathura. It's called the Taj, it used to be, I don't know if it still is, called the Taj Express. It's on its way to Agra. I said, no, you can't buy a ticket. You can't get there. So you can't, it is secret and kept locked. She has to give it. And how is it? You have to understand her mood. And what is her mood? Two different things. Serving her by making arrangements to bring the conditioned souls to Krishna. Here you see, Radharani was always trying to make arrangements for different gopis to have Krishna's association. As they were trying to make arrangements for her, she was trying to make arrangements for him. Anyway, she was trying to make arrangements for the gopis. Now, one of the purports of this picture, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, of course, we know, is Radha Krishna combined. So in that same mood of Radharani, of bringing the gopis to Krishna, to experience Krishna, to serve Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission, what is our mission? It's in the exact same mood as Radharani, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is expressing the mood of Srimati Radharani. Krishna, absorbed in the mood of Radharani, becomes golden, tapta kanchana gaurange. So, what is the Sankirtan mission? What are we doing? What are we doing out there? Selling books, making money, performing tapasya to purify our heart? Okay, fine. But what is the essence of the thing? We are bringing the conditioned souls to Krishna. We're waking them up. What is it? Jeev Jai Go. We're waking them up. You're part of it, but here's where your love is. What if there's a country western song? I don't want to hear it, but I heard one line of it in the radio. I think it's a famous song. And the line, the refrain is, I was getting my tires fixed, so I couldn't escape. And it was, looking for love in all the wrong places. Looking for love in others' faces. So that's, but where do we find, where is that right place to repose our most valuable thing, our love and our service? At Krishna's lotus feet. And Radharani shows us how to do that. So by serving her, by making her, this is how we get her mercy. It's not, anyway, you'll understand. The way to get it is by spreading the Sankirtan movement, by distributing books, the holy name, prasadam, by pushing forward the ISKCON movement, the movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That is how we get Radharani's special mercy and open the house of bhakti. And one other aspect, she's the protector and maintainer of the devotees. As we were saying in the beginning, she's particularly, Prabhupada gives a nice example. Just like Krishna is equal to all. He's the father of all living entities. Okay, fine. Akbar, and Prabhupada quotes it, Akbar asked Birbal. Birbal was a Vaishnava, and you can go to his place there. You can go to, what is it? I've forgotten the name. Whatever it is. Right, it's a half-hour drive, 40 minutes from Vrindavan. You can go, Fatehpur Sikri. You can go to his beauty. It's a whole story. But you can go there and you can see Birbal, who was one of his prime ministers, one of his Navaratris, his 9 jewels. He was a Vaishnava. You can see his palace. You can see, all that. You can see his Vaishnava altar. You can see everything. He was a devotee. So, Akbar asked Birbal that your Krishna is God Therefore, he's the father of everyone. He should be equal to everyone. But we find in his Bhagavad Gita that he says he's especially protective of his devotees. So this is wrong. This is a fault in your Gita. That how can God be partial? Birbal said, "I'll show you." Some time passed. Akbar was smart. We're going to be a little late for the deity opening, but they're late for us. They can give a little time too. They won't mind. So Birbal, one day, Akbar is walking in his gardens there at Fatehpur, beautiful gardens, and in those a bona fide Mughal garden has to have water courses, channels of water and fountains and all that stuff. So he's walking in his garden by one of those channels, and from a distance he sees his grandson, his favorite grandson, coming to see him. And his grandson runs and falls into the pond. Didn't know how to swim. Akbar immediately jumps into the pond, grabs what he thinks is his grandson, and it's a doll. It's a murti or whatever it is. It's not his grandson, but it made the look. And Birbal's laughing. What is the purport? Prabhupada tells the purport. The purport is, Birbal said, "You have so many assistants. Your assistants could have jumped in to say, but because you love your grandson, because your grandson is completely dependent on you, you give your grandson special attention. You're equal to all. He was a very good king. You're equal to all of your citizens, but it's natural that you give special affection to those who are completely dependent on you, surrendered to you." So it's completely natural that he's equal to all, but he gives special mercy to his devotees. So in the similar fashion, Radharani is especially fond of the devotees. So when we serve the Vaishnavas, Radharani becomes very pleased. Prabhupada's example, if you want to please a very rich man, what do you buy the man who has everything? What can you do? Prabhupada says, you give a little candy. Prabhupada says a sugar lozenge, like a little hard candy. You give the kid a little candy. He says, he's a pretty nice guy. I like that guy. As soon as you're recommended by the child, the rich man thinks, okay, my son can't be all bad. So similarly, if we serve the Vaishnavas, Radharani becomes very pleased because they're dependent on her. And Krishna becomes very pleased. So it's Prabhupada gives a great example. When trains start to move, Prabhupada calls them, anyway, the different, whatever you call it. One moves and then it pulls the next and it pulls the next and it pulls the first car doesn't pull all the other, shunting, that's what they call it. You hear that bang bang as they're all in a line like dominoes bumping into each other. So how will we approach Krishna? How will we approach Srimati Radharani? But we start that process like dominoes falling over that ended Krishna's lotus feet by service to the Vaishnavas. So once again, because we all want Srimati Radharani's mercy, what are the two ways? What's one of the ways? There's two ways. Who can a quick recap here? What's one of the ways we can get Radharani's mercy? By dressing up in a sari and pretending to be a gopi? By not chanting Hare Krishna, by chanting Radhe Krishna, Radhe Krishna? How? By preaching. And in the mood of, let me bring these conditioned souls, they're rotting in this material world, let me bring them back to Krishna's lotus feet. Okay, that's one. What's the other way? Yes, Prabhu. By serving the Vaishnavas. So I wanted to end. These are the, Sambandha Abhideya Prayojana. This is the teachings of the, of course it's been there for a long, but anyway, the Goswamis focused on these three steps. Sambandha is you understand things. Okay, like you look at when you go to the mall, you were here. Okay, here's the arrow, here's where I am, here's where the other shops, here's where I want to go. You understand everything. You understand, okay, I'm spirit soul, this material world is temporary, there's the spiritual nature, kingdom. You understand how everything's laid out. That level is called Sambandha. And the deity, Sanatana Goswami's Madan Mohan, is the deity especially in charge of Sambandha. And this is the mantra. Glory to all merciful Radha and Madan Mohan. I am lame and ill-advised. yet they are my directors, and their lotus feet are everything to me. So that is Sambandha, that is the beginning. Now, the next is Govindadev, Rupa Goswami's Govindadev. And that is Abhideya. The classic example, when Tamal Krishna Maharaj and by Krishna's grace, I happened to be standing next to him, Ann Arbor. I was a young householder, temple president. We had I think we had about 10 devotees at the time in a little house, preaching center. And Vishnu Jana was set up on the campus, big pandal, beautiful bhajan. There was a professor who stopped. And he was looking at from the sea. I was standing at a distance. We were checking it out. Tamal Krishna Maharaj and I were checking it out. And this professor walked up and introduced himself that he was Professor so-and-so from the religions department. So Tamal, fantastic Tamal Krishna Maharaj said, "Oh, so have you read Bhagavad Gita?" I mean, I was a little bit miffed. Taking it as an affront. I'm teaching religion. Of course, Hindu, 101. Of course I read Bhagavad Gita. Tamal asked him, "Did you understand it?" Now the guy's even more miffed. "What do you mean? Of course I understood it." And then Tamal asked him, like a 1, 2, 3 punch. Tamal asked him, "So, you've read Bhagavad Gita, you've understood it, what are you going to do?" And you saw this look of puzzlement, bewilderment. The guy was knocked up. That the idea of Bhagavad Gita was a call to action. Prabhupada makes the point, so many Gitas came to America, nobody ever thought of becoming a devotee. But Prabhupada's Gita came, made devotees all over the planet. So in a similar fashion, okay, we understand Sambandha, so what do we do about it? This is Abhideya. This is when one functions, one begins to act on that platform, when engages in devotional service. So the mantra here for Chaitanya, in a temple of jewels in Vrindavan, underneath a desire tree, Sri Sri Radha Govinda, served by their most confidential associates, sit upon an effulgent throne. I offer my humble obeisances unto them. These are the steps to enter into the house of bhakti and get Radharani's mercy. And the last one, you understand the things, you act on that platform, then you plant a seed, you water it, what do you want from it? What do you expect? Some fruit. This is prayojana, the fruit. Pure devotional service. Sri Srila Gopinath, who originated the transcendental mellow of the rasa dance, stands on the shore of Vangsivata and attracts the attention of the cowherd damsels with the sound of his celebrated flute. May they all confer upon me their benediction. So that is a meditation on Srimati Radharani's appearance. Now we have, I believe, what time is it? I wanted to, huh? 8:15. Fantastic. So we could just click on the lights. I'll shut this off. We have another slideshow tonight on the meaning of the marks on Srimati Radharani's lotus feet. But we'll read a little bit from Venu Gita, which is Shivaram Swami's compilation of Jiva Goswami, Rupa Goswami, and Sanatana Goswami. And we'll get some pastimes. So we got the lights. Okay. And let's kill this. Okay, now I have a folder. Deva, can you get, Dharmaraj, can you give me that? Thank you very much, Prabhu. The book, let's put here. Well, the first one I can narrate. When Lord Indra, after the Govardhan Leela, and we offer all respects, but just in the mood of the story, after making a profound fool of himself, trying to flood Govardhan and be completely defeated by little Krishna. I mean, you know the story. When he was bathed by the Lord Indra's Sarabi, there was a coronation. So Lord Indra led all the demigods in coronating Krishna. So Krishna was actually coronated as the king of Vrindavan. Now the gopis thought, well, hang on a minute. We should have a coronation for Srimati Radharani. So that's a whole other story. But she was coronated as the queen of Vrindavan. And Vishaka was her chief of staff. Lalita was her prime minister for her administration of Vrindavan. So Krishna appeared on the scene. They were assigning all different services to Srimati Radharani as the queen of Vrindavan. So Krishna appeared and said, well, what's my service? I want to serve. So Lalita and Vishaka gave him a hard time. They said, well, what are your qualifications? You know, you submit your resume and we'll get back to you. And then Lalita said, well, what are your references? You've got to give us some references. So they gave him a hard time. Then finally, they did, and all the other posts, they've been taken. So finally they said, all right, we'll let you be the constable. You can be the constable of Vrindavan. And one of his duties was to make proclamations. So his job, first job, was to go all throughout Vrindavan and inform everyone that Radharani had been installed as the queen of Vrindavan. And they gave him a nice sash, they gave him a badge. He was quite happy, going, and this was his. But, in these pastimes, he wanted to get some revenge. So he reported back, because he was supposed to go out and announce and then report back that everyone understood that Radharani was now officially coronated as the queen of Vrindavan. So he returns, and he says that my job is done. But there is some skullduggery in your kingdom, Srimati Radharani. I have a duty to report to you. So what is that? He said, there is a thief loose in your kingdom. And you're the king, a queen, you have to remedy it. What was stolen? He says, my flute. So if Vishaka and Lalita say, you're the constable and you can't even guard your own flute, so they turn to Radharani. He should be, removed immediately. Totally incompetent to be the chief of police. His own flute. It's like if you stole police as they get their car stolen, it's like, how embarrassing is that? So they're giving him even doubling on the hard time. And he responds, well, what can I do? I'm simply a low civil servant. And when corruption reaches the highest echelons of government, who am I to stop it? Well, what is this? And he goes over to where Lalita was keeping her files, all of her documents, and he pulls out his flute that she had stolen. She was the thief. So it goes on and on. There's a whole argument. Ultimately, it concludes that they all put Radha and Krishna on a swing and start swinging. So this gives you a little flavor of Vrindavan. And Prabhupada tells us, just so we don't take it cheaply, but to flavor it. Because Krishna, everyone, and you'll hear it from Indians, and it came to me one day, and I tell you, it works. It's a fantastic jujitsu response. Oh, I'm praying to God. Oh, I pray to God. You hear it all the time, and you hear it from the Christians. Oh, I pray to God. Oh, I pray. Like, okay, full stop. You pray to God. Okay, I'm impressed. You pray to God. Ask them. Okay, fine. Everybody prays to God. Every fool in a foxhole prays to God. Everybody's taking, the whatever it is, the big exam. They're praying. So you're praying to God. Big deal. What are you doing for God? What are you actually doing? Recognize this is one thing. Doing is another thing. God's such as an ATM machine. So Prabhupada said they're always asking. But who's actually pleasing Krishna? What does Krishna like to do? Prabhupada gives a classic example that Lord Gladstone was Queen Victoria's prime minister. He was a big guy. One day, the American ambassador comes to see Lord Gladstone. Secretary says, no, he's too busy right now, I can't see you. So French ambassador comes. Nah, he's too busy, can't see you. So now you get the American ambassador, French, they're cooling their heels in the waiting room of Lord Gladstone. Ambassador from Germany comes in, asking, and they're all, the head of the Bank of England. Ah, too busy, too busy. So they're all cooling their heels. The top echelon of the British Empire are all cooling their heels in this waiting room. They're thinking, who's Lord Gladstone? The Queen Victoria must be in there. So one of them went outside, climbed over and went and looked in his back window. Anyone know what he was doing? He was on all fours, and his grandson was riding him like a horse. Go left, go right. And he was having a fantastic time. Let them all cool their... So all the awe and reverence, all the opulence, all the power, that doesn't really get to the heart. But being controlled by his devotees, that's what Krishna really relishes. And that Srimati Radharani is the queen of that house. So, Rupa Sanatan, where's that clock? If you wait for me to get it, it'll take forever. Huh? No, but it's good if I have it. I can manage my time a little bit better. Sanatan Goswami was the older brother of Rupa Goswami. So it was Sanatan Goswami's birthday. And Rupa Goswami wanted to cook something. Make a nice feast for his brother. Just like we're making a nice feast for Radharani. It's you love someone, you want to cook something nice. Nothing says lovin' like something from the oven. is an old saying, You cook something for somebody. That's a sign of love. So what to do? But they're living under a different tree. He said, he's got his little, what to do? All of a sudden, a beautiful village girl arrived. She said, my family, my parents have seen you all alone out in this forest, and we're concerned for you. And those days, the Brahmins, they would all cook for themselves. So I thought we thought we would help you cook at least one good meal. So we brought you some pots, and here's some milk, and here's some sugar, and here's some vegetables, like that. Brought him all this thing. So, in the ecstasy of Vrindavan, thought, fantastic. Cooked up, I think he cooked sweet rice. Maybe that's what it was. It was sweet rice for sure, but it was only sweet rice. I've heard it different ways, but I've heard whole feast, I've heard sweet rice, so you go as you like. But cooked up some you can imagine, by Rupa Goswami. Ras Guru, so you can imagine it was pretty far out. Prabhupada said you should put a little black pepper, a little camphor. We don't do this, because we always put too much in. Narottam asked Srila Prabhupada personally, how much camphor do you put in the sweet rice? Prabhupada said, not enough that any mortal can taste. A little saffron, a little camphor, a little black pepper, just, it's a whole other world. Okay, so he makes his fantastic sweet rice, or a whole feast, brings it to Sanatan Goswami. What is Sanatan Goswami's reaction? Yeah. Prabhupada was also translated Sherlock Holmes. Well, where did this come from? He says, there was this really beautiful girl, young village girl. I've never seen her in our village before. Sanatan goes, you rascal. We can't even imagine it. But he begins to chastise. He's the older brother. He can do that. You rascal. You've taken service. Don't you realize? You're chanting Radharani, let me serve you, but you've taken service from Srimati Radharani. And Rupa Goswami was feeling very badly. Raghunath Das Goswami. We know Raghunath Das Goswami, from Puri, austerity personified. He's living in Radhakund. And he would just sit, absorbed in Radha Krishna Leela, absorbed in the holy name. And the sun, Indian sun. Prabhupada talks about who was it? Was it King George came to England and was shocked by the sun? They'd never seen, they're coming, Prabhupada says, that miserable place. If the sun never sets on the British Empire, why doesn't it shine in London? Prabhupada's punch to the BBC. So, they were shocked to see the sun. So, you can imagine Indian sun. So, Raghunath Das Goswami sitting in the sun. And in those days, there were wild tigers. They used to be all over India. Jaipur was that Bharatpur, which is not, Bharatpur is the tiger. What is it? Bharatpur is, 45-minute drive, hour-and-a-half drive, whatever it is, from Vrindavan. So, in Radhakund, there were tigers. So, but he was so absorbed in his bhaja, he didn't realize. Krishna would stand there with a stick, keeping away the tigers. It's a famous picture. You see it in Vrindavan, different places. And Radharani standing there holding her sari. Now, if this would happen, sometimes you get these people coming from India, and they say, oh, I'm hearing Radharani, or I'm this or that, I heard the fleet. They're all advertising themselves. Raghunath Das Goswami, he has Radharani personally serving him, Krishna personally serving him. Sanatana Goswami or Rupa, I'm not sure which one, chastise him. You're chanting Hare Krishna, oh, let me serve you, but you're making them come serve you. Build yourself a bhajan kutir. Get yourself a cave. You know, what kind of bhajan is this? So this is just when we read these pastimes, we have to keep things in context. So maybe we'll read one more. Oh, this was a Brijbasi print. And maybe we'll end here. I don't want to hold up the details. And we can do more. Because I have more stories from that Venu Gita. And also from Nectar Devotion. But we'll end with this one. There was a picture, Brijbasi. There was another print company. I'd love to get the name of it because I'm trying to get a copy of this. There was Brijbasi press, and there was another one with the equal quality. So there was one of this, whatever that publishing house was. This is 1969, because it was in the La Cienega Temple. And it was, and Prabhupada, they had different pictures of, Prabhupada said that, this licentious, that Radharani and Krishna, that, get rid of that stuff. But this one, Prabhupada stopped on his way out one day, on his way out to his car, because he was staying over, and he stopped, and he liked this one, and he told the story. And what the scene is that Radharani's sitting on a throne with Lalita and Vishaka, and Krishna's at her feet, and at her feet are all of his pearls, all of his jewels, his crown, and what is his most prized possession? His flute. And it's all at Radharani's feet. And she's looking like this. She won't even give him the time of day. Well, Prabhupada said what's actually happening is Radharani is looking at Vishaka and Lalita and saying, should I forgive him or should I hold out a little bit longer? Should I forgive him or should I hold out? And then Prabhupada pointed out, which I had never noticed, in the bushes there's Cupid, that typical little chubby Cupid. And he's got his bow and arrows because, mundane lust, he shoots you with those arrows and attachment, rati, all that stuff happens. You get it, and he's expert at arranging the loving affairs of the material world. Cupid is the best. So, but he's in the bushes, and he snapped his bow and arrow, and he's hanging his head down. That I'm, whatever I can arrange, whatever I can, control, I'm completely defeated by the pastimes of Radha Krishna and Vrindavan. So Prabhupada explained that. So that gives you a flavor. That door is open to us. Maybe we're a parrot, maybe we're a flower, or maybe a blade of grass, the whole thing, they all step on our head and we watch it. Who knows in what capacity? But that is there for us. We just have to sincerely chant. What is this? This 16-word, 32-syllable, which has, 8 times Srimati Radharani's name in it. Okay, we can end there, and we'll continue this afternoon. Hare Krishna. This evening, 6:30.